Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation. You got something?
Well, the council hasn't met since the second week in December. We had one special meeting, but it was unrelated to anything to do with the senior center. So I don't have anything, I think, to report. Can you remember that far back?
Nothing that's prudent. Yeah, nothing crazy. There's not that thing.
Okay. What else?
Approve the minutes of the
I
last
have
meeting.
one item.
Okay.
As we were saying Pledge of Allegiance, I noticed that the center has our flag at full staff.
Okay.
I understand it's supposed to be at half staff for Carter for 30 days. Is
Okay.
that correct?
I believe so. If it's at full staff, we'll address that right away.
Okay, thank you. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes? Any changes? Comments? Did we take a vote?
You can. This board does it by consensus, but I think taking a vote's a good idea.
I motion to approve the last meeting.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, there you All right. Let's hope you stay this time. I'm not gonna mess with sharing the screen. All right. So next on the agenda would be typically staff report. Is that right, Karen? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Here, let me just pull this up so I can see it.
well, it was public participation, if there is any.
There was none.
Okay,
So service report, we had a lot of programs for the holidays, many holiday-based programs, including our annual holiday social, which was a jazz band that played this year. They were great. We did holiday music bingo, which was really, really fun. We'll do that again sometime. We also recognize that the holidays are not merry for everybody, so we do a program about how to handle holiday stress. Lots of craft programs, lots of art, related to making ornaments and, holiday type things. That's okay. Thank you. In the non-holiday realm, we had, pickleball clinics that were very popular. We had speakers coming to talk about sensory changes in aging. We had an information session for Matter of Balance, which is an evidence-based course that we are joining the CCHD, the Health District, to present. It's an 8-week course that actually did start today. That was just an informational session about it. And again, it's all evidence-based throughout from various universities, and it's aimed to help people adjust their environments and their attitudes in order to help prevent falls and build confidence in your balance and your strength. Because we talked about the coping with holiday stress, and we actually had, as we often do, the discussion about important financial topics as you age. So that was the last month. In the realm of the nutrition program, we continue on with replacing meals 3 days a week and replacing the second Meals on Wheels meal. We are actually seeing a little bit of an uptick of folks coming in on the non-CRT days because I think they like the fun meals that we're serving. So with that in mind, we're looking at what's working and what's not for the menu. We have received some other wonderful donations to help us keep that program going. The High School Culinary Arts Academy did a fundraiser for us. Their teacher is his name is Justin Rich, and they baked cookie platters and they sold them, and they donated the proceeds from those platters. And they also donated a cookie platter to us, which is very nice. So we donated about $500 to our congregate lunch program. So that will feed a good number of people. I actually had the calculation, but I don't, but we assume like $8 per person for lunch. So whatever that works out to. Our staff, the town-wide staff, I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the last meeting, we had like a holiday luncheon. And they sold raffle tickets to prizes, for prizes, and all the proceeds from the raffle ticket sales went to our nutrition program. So the town staff showed up and bought tons of tickets, and I think they donated about $1,450 to our program. So that was wonderful. And there's some good prizes too. They also, as an aside, if you wanted to buy raffle tickets, again, all the funds went into the into our program, but also they collected donations for the Human Services holiday gift drive because it was right before Christmas. And they've collected like 2 big like barrels, I don't know, like wheelbarrows, totes of gifts for kids and adults. So it was very successful in that regard. We've had also just a lot of nice donations from members, and we had $1,000 donation from one particular gentleman that was very kind of him. And, you know, they keep coming in. So we are also working with the high school, as I've mentioned in the past, to provide lunches. The same culinary arts class will be providing us soup and salad and roll lunch every couple weeks. So that'll be like a Friday thing for a while. That's free of charge for us. So there's more lunches, and we're always in talks with more people who could potentially sponsor our lunches. And with the government shutdown averted, that was obviously a good thing, but it did put us back to like 0 in terms of, I guess, any progress that had been made in talks for refunding or resuming funding for this program. So we are again digging in our heels and expecting that would be for the long haul. So I think that's I could talk a little more about building stuff when that comes up on the agenda. Is there any other questions on like the programs and services before I talk about the next nutrition item? Which you can't see. Yes, you can see that. Okay, cool. Okay. At the last meeting, we had mentioned doing a fundraising for the nutrition program outside of like the flyers and, you know, the donation drives and everything else that we have done, like a fundraising event, be it a golf tournament or a dinner and dance type thing. If the commission is still interested in doing so, I was wondering if maybe you wanted to form a subcommittee or something to decide what to do, and kind of give us some direction on that, or if it's something you wish to speak about as an entire commission. I think maybe Commissioner Brabner brought up last time doing like a dinner and a dance, but again, any ideas, if you'd like to maybe just talk about it amongst yourself and come back to us, or share any ideas now or via email, we would appreciate that.
I still like the dinner and the dance idea because you can usually sell those tickets for a little bit more money. So it's more revenue per head.
Would you maybe like to have a couple of people, you know, work on that with as a committee, perhaps we can do?
Sure.
Okay. Ed, I don't know if we could hear Ed. He said he'd like to be on that.
Okay.
Well, we could hook it up via email and
Yeah.
talk about, report back to the entire commission and to the, you know, get some staff input too about what's, you know, the best way to go about doing that, and maybe report back, you know, have something like an outline or something that we can in the next couple of weeks that we could start to publicize or put it together.
Absolutely. My question is, I know sometimes different, like I know sometimes the town hall does it, or I know sometimes different committees in town have done these type of things. Like I know the library does it. Can we tap into them and maybe see how they get it done, or what they like, what services they use, or vendors, or that type of thing as well?
Yeah, we can do that. I could also see what other senior centers do if they do such types of events.
Yeah, I just know in particular, I was thinking about the library. I know does one, so I figured close enough that they might be able to give us some assistance, at least.
All right. Why don't I put together an outline for you to review, and you can kind of fill in what your thoughts are and details and go from there.
Sounds good.
You brought up about the library is gonna have their big Christmas thing. Do you think we could tap into their event for donations?
That's a Friends of the Library fundraiser. I don't know if we want to encroach. It's very successful. We might be able to use them to advertise whatever we decide to do.
Yeah, I think it might be better as an advertisement instead of a attachment, just because they have the setup they do for like months and everything like that. So adding us on last minute might not work, but they can give us at least some guidance for our own, you know, plans.
Maybe just some donation flyers at their event.
Yeah.
Didn't it, at one time, we have a senior prom and we invited the high school kids?
Yep, so we did that up until 2019, pre-pandemic, and that was a magnet school and high school I'm sorry, Magnet High School in Hartford, and the students planned the whole prom. And they brought in, it was an afternoon. It wasn't a nighttime thing, and dressing up was optional. Some folks really enjoy dressing up and others not so much. That teacher who handled that retired or left or whatever, and we weren't really successful in resuming it after the pandemic with that particular group. If we wanted to make it an intergenerational program, we certainly can think about doing that. I just wanted to think about how we can maximize, donations and
Yeah.
minimize. But there wasn't food served. I mean, there were snacks, but there wasn't a meal served at that prom.
What about possibly the culinary school doing a dinner that we could sell tickets for?
They probably are a good option, a good route. They're very, very open and generous to helping us, the teacher in particular and the administration, but the students are also, it's been a really, really, they're just been wonderful to work with and very generous with their time and their efforts. So certainly, understanding the constraints of their classwork or whatever, it's something we can look into.
I think it's a good idea. I think we need a committee though. Maybe Lillian can talk to some people and figure some things out and then put a group together to a group to run it or work on it. Because if it's going to be at the senior center, then it's your staff that are going to have to be very busy.
Which is okay. But I would appreciate the help in the planning phase rather than putting another, thing on the staff. We certainly,
Right.
whatever you decide.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem helping with all the planning and everything like that. I just haven't looked into it yet. So I don't have enough like number information to give you yet, but I can definitely look into it and ask some people.
Yeah, and then maybe after that we could form a committee.
Yeah.
So Lillian's gonna take care of organizing a committee. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. I'm gonna do some research first and then I'll bring it for next meeting. Does that sound like a good option?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And we are
And-
in good shape right now in terms of our donation levels and our levels of funding for the program that'll get us through several months. So this isn't like an emergency fundraiser. It's something that we can take the time to do and do properly. Oh, next on the agenda would be, oh, I'm sorry. Can you see now? Budget update.
Is that for us?
Sure. Town departments are required to submit their requested budgets to the town manager on January 3rd. So ours has been requested, at the request of the administration, minimal increases, minimal changes in anticipation of challenges with our budget, which is of course nothing new. So I did submit our budget or request to the town manager. I meet with him on the 16th, I think, to review it with him in the finance department. We do a good job with what we have, with our community partners and sponsors and donations and everything else. So we do a lot with a little, and we'll continue to do a lot with a little. The only major changes I made were just to bump up the hourly rate for the part-time dial-a-ride driver position. It's a 19-hour week position. It's been vacant for 2.5 years because we cannot compete at $17 an hour to get a CDL driver, licensed driver, even for a part-time job. So I did request a bump on that. Even at $3 an hour, 19 hours a week, it comes out to like less than $3,000 a year to hopefully get a qualified person. Other than that, it's status quo. I made a couple of very minor changes. I am actually a couple of volunteers in the coffee shop requested maybe that we can get some newspapers subscriptions. So I put that in there, but I could probably start that before July. And other than that, everything is going to stay flat. We'll continue to make do, and do very well with what we have. So the process, I think you all know this, but the process is, goes to the town manager first. He makes the first line of changes from the department head requests, and then the town manager puts together his budget, which goes to the council for deliberation and public participation, and they make the final budget in April.
About the interest on the SDC fund.
Yep, that is, kind of remained on the agenda from last time. We discussed asking the finance department to take our donations fund account and put some of that account into an interest-bearing account, which makes it less liquid, so we can't necessarily use it to buy our supplies, you know, and pay for our program people the way we do now. But we have enough in that account where we could afford to put some aside for savings and hopefully earn a little bit of money on that and still have plenty available for our day-to-day needs. When I left that with our finance director, they were just kind of doing their year-end stuff, their fiscal year-end stuff, which takes months and months. That finished up at the end of December, and now the finance director's on a well-earned vacation. So when she returns, I'll follow up with her.
Thank you
Door-
on the door counter.
Still waiting,
Okay.
still waiting on a quote. I don't know what why it's such a long lead time, but as soon as I have info, I'll send it to you.
We'll do business now. Upcoming activities.
Yes, so our January is so busy that Barbara asked if we could get more pages added to our newsletter. So that's pretty good. And for the record, if you didn't know this, we don't pay for our newsletter printing. It's actually paid for by advertising through a third-party printing company. So we get this for free. So I'll have to see if they're willing to add a couple of pages, maybe some more sponsors to our program. So we have what I mentioned earlier, our evidence-based matter of balance workshop that's facilitated by the Central Connecticut Health District started today. That goes on for the next 8 Wednesdays. We are also doing a memory workshop also on Wednesdays. It's actually also an evidence-based program from UCLA. So it's kind of a pilot program. It's free to us and free to members. We're gonna we had a good turnout with that, so we'll continue with that. We have, as usual, our usual arrangement of or array of arts and crafts programs. We have if you need your flu shot still, it's not too late. You can come and walk in on January 24th. There's a walk-in flu clinic. We have a conversation coming up about cancer education and prevention. We have end of life planning for your will and those types of documents. We have a storyteller coming and to give a collection of stories from places from the past and encourage people to share their stories. So just a ton. We actually have a program on AI, artificial intelligence. You know, just again, lots of different programs coming up. And then, you know, we just continue through the winter with having a lot to do. The bus trip committee is back in business, and I think we have like 3 or 4 trips planned starting in March. There'll be several more added throughout the year, and trip sales will resume actually tomorrow.
Jamie, I just thought of something back to the budget. CIP, do we have security and IT
I am working
for
with
the
IT.
building?
I'm working on the IT department and the facilities department on the security recommendations of the assessment that was actually done last winter at this now, but those things don't move quickly. That would likely be a facilities related CIP expense because they're looking at kind of standardizing everything, library, us, and everything else. So yes, that's moving forward, and even better if it's not coming out of our budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. The building update. So if you read my emails, you know that we had a little issue last week, or we had a water main break in the parking lot. Credit goes to Ed because he's the one who noticed water seeping up into the parking lot when it was sunny out. And
It was like the Beverly Hillbillies with the
bubbling up, yeah.
I said, I came to office, I said, we got water bubbling up from the crack.
And I'm like, Ed, what are you talking about? Yeah, so I go out there and I look, and yeah, there was. So a huge thank you to our facilities department who responded like within 5 seconds and came over, and they brought over engineering and highway, and they called NBC, and NBC immediately said, oh, it's not our problem, it's yours. So the town proceeded with hiring Stam Construction to fix it. It was a water main break that was on our end. The best news about that is it happened on New Year's Eve, and we weren't busy anyway. It's like the only time of year where we're not packed, like the whole year round. That's the week that was probably the best week for it to happen. So we did unfortunately have to close early. We were able to tell NBC that we needed to wait till after lunch because I don't want to send people home before lunch. So we served lunch, and then they excuse me, they shut our water off, and it was off until Wednesday. We were closed for New Year's Day, and then it was off until they finished mid-afternoon on Thursday. So we were able to resume operations on Friday. No issues, you know, in that regard. We were able to, we still delivered Meals on Wheels on Thursday. We still got people to their doctor's appointments. you know, that type of thing on Thursday. But we were not allowed to have people in the building because we didn't have restroom or water facilities. Barbara and I were in the building, and we just ran across the town hall as necessary, just to dispatch the rides, answer the, you know, the hundreds of phone calls that came through, and make sure that the meals got out on time. So that was fine. They came yesterday, yesterday in the freezing cold. The highway department came to patch the hole in the parking lot that you saw. They can't repave it until the spring, but for now the patch will be in place so that nobody falls on it. So that was our excitement of the week. Other than that, they're doing some cleaning, they're doing some paint touch-ups, kind of brighten things up in here, and everything else is going well.
You're welcome. Volunteer dinner day.
Yeah, I know it's still a couple months away, but I thought it might be helpful if we can set a date for the volunteer dinner sooner rather than later. I didn't bring my calendar, but we've been doing them anywhere from like May through August for the past couple of years. Pre-pandemic, it was always in May. So if the commission is interested in going back to that May date, or you like where it's been in June, the problem with June is a lot of people are busy. There's high school graduations, there's activities and events going on. People start going on vacation. The thing with May is we're hosting both the townwide school art show, the week May 6th, like whatever that first week of May is, and then the Friends of the Library book sale is the weekend of May 3rd. So anything that we might do for the volunteer dinner would have to be like after May 18th or so. So just thoughts on that. If this commission would like to, it doesn't need to be tonight, but if you'd like to set a date tonight or at the next meeting, we usually do it Thursdays. We don't necessarily have to do it on a Thursday. That way we can get it on the calendar and avoid any schedule conflicts as we get closer.
How would be catered and all that?
Well, that would be planned as we go. You would still need to pick a theme. You need to select a volunteer of the year, but if we can get a date on the calendar, I think that would be helpful.
I like the May date. We don't have to worry about bad weather.
Yeah.
May 22nd is the first, second, third, fourth Thursday.
May 22nd. Okay.
May 22nd, yeah.
Does anybody have any major conflicts that they're aware of at this point?
I'm fine with that too.
May 22nd. It's a Thursday night, you said, Karen?
Yes.
May 22nd.
So I think you might have disconnected. Oh, nope, you're still there.
That's cool.
We'll go with that. Any more discussion on that? I don't know what this
This
is,
is-
the commissioner tours and the special input
Yep.
sessions.
That's actually another thing that Ed had mentioned. I just wanted to remind everybody that he extended the invitation for folks to come in and take a tour of the cafeteria and the lunch program. And if you wanted the building too, if you're not already familiar, please do so.
I discussed with you about getting the town council maybe. Is there a way that we could get the town council to come in also to see what we really do?
That could be arranged through the town manager's office.
No, I mean, no, with the same time that the commissioners tour for the CRT meal thing. I'm thinking like if people came in at 10 o'clock on a CRT day, they would see on how we operate the Meals on Wheels and how we do the congregate so people understand it.
You can certainly invite the town council to anything you'd like. They would probably need to post it as a special meeting. Because if there's a quorum, same for you, actually, same for the commission, it would be posted as a special meeting in case you have a quorum. You need to take minutes. But again, the town manager's office would make the arrangements with the council to see what works for them.
How can that be added on for them to discuss that? But that's something you could just go back to your guys.
Probably need a hard date,
Most of them.
they want to do it, and we would talk to different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. The party leadership could talk amongst themselves to find some dates that might work. But again, that would be coordinated by the town manager's office. They kind of coordinate the town council schedule. But it might have a hard time because a lot of the councilors work during the day, but you might get some. We've done daytime things before where we've had some turnout. So I can put the feelers out to the town manager's office and let them do their thing and have them reach out to the leadership.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I do have the special input session part of it. We talked about having perhaps a meeting during the day of the commission as well. And that's something that, if the commissioners who are available during the day would like to do so, to get input from the membership. We do occasionally hold special input sessions, staff, the staff hear input, but it would be interesting for the commission to hear it as well. And it kind of ties into, I attended a meeting yesterday on Zoom. It was a legislative update for the state unit on aging hosted the meeting, and they talked a lot about lobbying and what's, important for us to do, and how the whole budget process works for the state and how they get their input. Not really news to people who've seen, it was statewide senior center thing, people have been around for a bit, but interesting information. And Diane Stone, former director, was one of the presenters. She now works for the National Council on Aging in Washington, DC. And she does her Diane Stone spiel, which is wonderful. She's a great advocate. But she mentioned that I had forgotten all about it, but I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years ago, an elected official, not one of ours, made a comment in terms of funding for senior centers and programs for older adults, that senior centers are going to be obsolete in 10 years anyway. So why are we going to fund them? Then if you fast forward a bit to, I don't know, earlier this year, we had, of course, our ARPA requests for the $10 million was allocated to senior centers all around the state. And we got 90,000 of that 10 million, but several senior centers ended up missing out on the funds that had already been allocated to them, because at the legislative session, they decided they needed to reallocate some of that funding to education. We got ours, but because we applied early, but a lot of the senior centers missed out on what could have been hugely significant increases to their available funding for programs and everything else through ARPA funding. And it was brought up at that meeting that that's because senior centers are too quiet, right? We don't make noise, so the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So it got me thinking quite a bit that senior centers are absolutely not obsolete 10 years ago or now. We are constantly reevaluating the needs of our membership and of the older folks in Newington and the disabled folks in Newington, not only to stay relevant, but to stay connected, to stay energized, to stay beneficial for people. So I was thinking about these special input sessions, and not only doing the input so that you can hear what people want, but also so that we can go to our legislators and our elected officials at the state and national level and say, hey, we are relevant. This is what people want. This is why you need to fund us. So I was I had to go on my soapbox for just a minute there, but I think it's important that we not only get input and that we follow through with the input, which I think we're decently good at doing, but that we make sure that we're not swept under the rug too. So that's just a thought. So if this commission at some point would like to schedule a daytime meeting for members, if we offer snacks, people will come and they will tell you everything. They'll tell you everything.
My request is for an afternoon. Other than that, I'm good for if we want to schedule anything.
Afternoons are fine. We can do a 1 o'clock type deal or 2 o'clock type.
Capture the lunch conference.
Mhm.
And I
have some sort of a suggestion box that people might be able to,
Mhm.
If they wanted, a certain, something different, a program
Yeah.
or whatever it's. I mean, not to compare it to having what type of food you want to eat in a cafe, which.
We had that. Did you look at those responses by chance? We
No,
had
I didn't look,
Okay.
I didn't look at the responses at
we
all.
we had a suggestion box for updating our cafeteria, our coffee shop menu, and there were some good suggestions in there that we took, but there was also several suggestions for tequila bar, wine bar, or cowbell. Well, awesome. So that one is actually on my desk. So I thought that was, and we actually did some legitimate suggestions in there, and we do have a suggestion in the office, but I think people probably forget it's there, so we can advertise that as well.
I mean, maybe that could be some, almost like where they do the trip desk,
Mhm.
where a lot of
Yeah,
people
put it more
congregate
visibly.
or whatever, something like, but I know you may get.
Oh, it's okay. It's funny, but it's a great idea. There's so many different ways to gather. That's one way. It's also to do an input session. You kind of get a good conversation going, kind of like the town center study input
Right.
session that we had a couple weeks back with the consultant. And you get a kind of a good discussion going and back and forth. People might bounce ideas off of each other. So there's definitely different ways we can do it. I just think it's important that we do it.
But what do you want to set a date for this? What session?
It's up to the commission.
You know, look at.
Well, I've been trying to do this for a couple of years. I think it's a great idea and I would love to see some seniors attending our meeting, but it doesn't have to be a meeting. It could be just a special session. However you guys want to do it.
Have to be posted as a meeting if we have a quorum, so it's not a big deal. It's just a matter of sending out an agenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So a special meeting, how about in April?
I was gonna say March or April, yeah, because after the snow, so.
Yeah,
April would be better. It's safe to
Sure.
Yeah, because I'm Florida for 3 weeks.
Lucky you.
Sorry, yeah.
Pick a- I'll make it.
Yeah.
when are you in Florida, Ed?
February 24th to March 18th.
Okay, so
April's fine.
Get a calendar.
Yep, April's fine. No cruises yet.
Let's see. Hmm.
Since it would be a meeting, would it be best to have it like the same day we would have the evening meeting and that
you'd
would
like.
substitute out that night meeting or?
If you'd like to do that, if
Throwing that out.
it's whatever you'd like to do, we could definitely make that work. So here's our calendar.
I mean, that
That
would
means-
sound good for April 2nd if we did it, a couple of hours before, our meeting.
What, you want April 2nd, general regular meeting?
I think the suggestion might have been to do it in the place of the 6 p.m. meeting, doing a special meeting. It would have to be called
Right,
not at our regular advertised time, but it would be, essentially our April meeting would be held during the day instead of in the evening.
Oh, okay. I mean, well, we could do that.
Do that, or we can do both. We can hold a regular meeting at 6 and a special meeting at 2 or 1 or whatever works for you.
I prefer the second option where we have our regular meeting and we have this as a separate meeting, because if we want them to come and participate and offer snacks and things like that, I think it's more, we'll get more benefit than us saying, come to our meeting and watch us go over things.
Because people won't drive at night too. If we could capture people by 1 o'clock.
so our April meeting is the 2nd. So
Yep.
we could do something at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Are there still a lot of members at the center at that time? Or are we better off doing it earlier?
Wednesdays are pretty busy. I mean, mornings are always going to be busier than afternoons, but if the afternoon works better for the commission and we're offering refreshments, people will stay after lunch and they'll come.
I think like at 1 o'clock, because as I'm saying, at lunch finishes at
Mhm.
a quarter
12:30.
or.
Mhm.
Do you want,
Maybe you might capture the people that are having the regular lunchtime. In addition to anybody else that may get other programs or something that might.
are we in
Finishing up.
conflict to another program for that day?
Well, Wednesday afternoon's always set back, and pickleball, but those are just regular programs. People can choose which they want to attend, and we will have other options. If people can't make it, we can encourage them to give their input in other ways.
So we'll schedule for April 2nd.
April
Second.
2nd at 1 o'clock, will it be a special meeting or just,
Yes, it would be a
okay.
posted special meeting.
okay,
And if the commission is okay with this, I would probably come up with a way to facilitate the meeting, and structure the meeting, maybe with some leading questions or some, visuals on the board to get the conversation moving, but also to kind of keep it like controlled. If that's okay with you, there's different methods to do that we can use.
that would be great, because the seniors better than I do. So,
Well,
even though I'm a senior,
So. We lost our agenda. Hold on. Sorry. Next would be purchases.
Oh,
No,
the
it's gone
next
again.
one is
Purchase
the
request.
purchase.
I don't have any purchase requests
No
today.
purchase request today. Okay, then determine the next meeting date and agenda.
That's
Next
second, April 2nd. No, that's not.
March, what month is it? The next month is February. So whatever that first Wednesday in February is,
it's the
February 5th.
5th.
at 6 p.m. Any major conflicts?
No.
It's National Ice Cream Day for breakfast.
Nice.
Good. So February 10th, is that?
What did you just say? I'm sorry.
February 5th.
February 5th.
February 5th.
Thank you.
That's the next meeting.
The normal Wednesday
And-
meeting.
And set the agenda.
Yep. Is there anything specific you want on the agenda? I thought I'd start asking just so we don't miss anything.
Maybe just following up for after Lillian maybe gets some more information about the what she gets from the library or the fundraiser or whatever, because it might be to determine a committee or something at that point.
I agree. Sounds good.
Okay.
Anything else?
Do we
Public,
need to put our special meeting on there for April 2nd? Do we need to discuss it before it happens?
If you would like to discuss it, you're welcome to. I could put it on the agenda if you want to have further discussion.
How does everyone feel about that?
I don't think it hurts to.
it wouldn't hurt to put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything else? Public participation?
Want to add a couple more even. I understand the governor initiated the cold weather protocol today.
Correct.
I remember last year we opened the center here for people to come during the day.
Mhm.
At one point. What are we doing as far as that?
Okay, well, each town manager has been a little different. Each administration's been a little different. Of course, we're open during the day for anybody who would like to come in. And there is a committee of some elected officials. I'm not sure if either of our liaisons are on it. And it's essentially, it addresses housing needs, it's starting to address, but it also, they've begun addressing this particular issue of sheltering and warming centers. And I believe that Carol LeBrecq and I are going to probably go to one of those upcoming meetings to talk a little bit more, because there were some questions from that particular committee about this exact same situation. We past town managers have typically not opened warming stations. Myself, because we didn't need to, because we had a warm winter when I was there, but other ones have determined that there's really not a huge need, and that's not cold-hearted, no pun intended. But the amount of usage that we would get would be extremely minimal for the effort and cost to put into it, which isn't to say that people who don't have a home or who don't have heat in their home are left in the cold. We have many different safeguards for them. They're typically referred to human services if they're not already known to human services, and the state actually operates warming centers and shelters and days like today. So the cold weather protocol is in place till tomorrow. So there are state-run warming centers around the state and emergency shelters that will open up to take people in overnight as needed. It's typically not a super comfortable shelter. You might be spending the night in a conference room, but it's something to get people out of the cold. Where we come into this situation, where we come into play here, is that we will provide transportation to people, to those shelters who need them. We will make referrals to people for housing. We will make sure that they are safe. We will hook them up with other resources, after the immediate need for shelter passes. But we don't have the capacity or I don't want to say the need, because there's always need, but the significant need to open up nighttime warming centers in the town of Newington. And human services, they're experts at doing this and reaching out to the people and getting them where they need to go. If anybody loses their power at home, or they're worried about becoming, that they're going to lose their home, they should definitely reach out, and we will make sure that you're safe. In the event of a widespread power outage, like that 2011 storm we had in October, where 98% of the town didn't have power for 9 days and it was cold, we did open up shelters to anybody because like most of the town didn't have heat. And the main shelter is at the high school, it was actually run by the town staff at the time, but the CERT team would be involved in it now. And our building is certified as a shelter as well. The reason we're not the main shelter is because we don't have a shower facility, but we have everything else you need, including an emergency generator. So if there was a situation of extreme cold where somehow the statewide shelter system should fail, there would be nothing from precluding us from saying, okay, come on to the senior center tonight. We'll open our doors, we'll make hot cocoa. But right now there are already things in place to help people who need them.
What do you think about us, you doing a phone blast for our membership?
Mhm.
Letting people know that during the day, because some people, they can't afford heat. Like to heat their house 24 hours a day. If they had a place that they could go during the day, which they could hang out and watch TV during the day and go home and pay for heat then. If we did like a phone blast saying, with the cold, if, come to the center and explore.
I
other-
typically do. When we're gonna have a cold snap, I think the timing of this one might have eluded our last call, but if we're gonna have a particular bout of nasty weather, whether it's cold or a hurricane or a blizzard or whatever, I do typically put it out in the robocall and remind people of the resources available to them. So that's something that we would continue to do.
At least let them know they could come here. They don't have to come in because they have an activity to go to. They could just come and hang out
Yep.
in the TV room or something.
You do that.
Anything else?
No.
Public participation? Anything?
I just have a question, gentlemen. Do you get copies of other newsletters for other senior centers in the area?
Some we get via email, yeah, or if I'm feeling curious, I'll search and see what they have going on.
I was given one to give to you. I left it in my car and I will go and get it and give it to you afterwards.
Thank
So
you.
You can do some comparisons
Yep.
to your newsletter as opposed to it's the Rocky Hill one and, if
Sure.
there's some good suggestions
Sure,
there.
Rocky Hill's a nice center. Collaborate well with them. Yeah, they're nice. They have a really beautiful new building and,
So I'll
but
get that for you after the meeting's over.
thank you.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I.
Bye.
Have a good night. Have a good night, everybody. Bye. Take care, Lillian, Lena.
Bye.
We can-
Bye.
Over here.